What is up, Scrub fam? I'm back with another deck profile. This is one of my favorite decks from the set so far, from testing so far. I've had a ton of fun with it. It's been pretty good. So, figured I would take the time and go over it with you. And what we have is what I like to call, if you're familiar with Magic, you can call it Grixis Massane. But if you were thinking about Super, and you're trying to think about names for colors, this is blue, black, and red. So I'm calling it Uber Aggro. So this is Massane Uber Aggro. And before I get started, let me give a shout out to Bearded Collectibles, best sponsor in the entire world, Al Pastrana, amazing shop owner. If you haven't picked up your sealed product yet, please go ahead and do so now. You need to go ahead and get that product so you can begin testing, brewing, and then being able to start making an impact on the format with maybe some of the decks that you've seen that you liked, or even just some of your own brews that you guys have come up with on your own. I'm really excited to see what everyone builds. As also just excited to see the way the format evolves and where it goes. So without any further ado, let me go ahead and get into this deck because I'm on my lunch break and I figured I'd get this done because I've been thinking about it a lot, and this has been one of my favorite decks to play so far. So, Massane, the leader, incredibly strong. So, placing the top three cards of your deck into your graveyard or discard pile. If you hit a black card, you gain critical. If you hit any other color, you also gain plus 5k. So, really strong leader. The main reason why is because the fact that with his ability, you can pressure awaken leaders with no problem, as well as the fact that critical, of course, is a huge boon, especially if you're trying to take any sort of aggressive approach or a mid-range approach. Being able to deny your opponent's cards is really strong, but what makes him great, like I said before, is that 5k pump because you can pressure leaders already awakened. So that's why I say the Massane's really well positioned against Mecha Frieza leader, because even when Mecha Frieza flips, they still have to spend a card whenever I attack with my Massane leader, and then once I flip, it becomes even more gross. And then on the flip side, as you guys know, when you do awaken him, he ends up getting the same exact thing, so he can gain critical and the 5k boost, and of course when he attacks, draw a card, and the card art is sweet, which is of course, the most important thing. And he's the only black leader that when he flips, you may draw two when you flip. So instead of the other ones that tutor something out of the warp zone, this one just draws you two cards, which just makes him better than the other leaders, of course. So let's go into the deck itself. So if we want to start looking at our actual base, so what we're focused on, like I said, we're a high pressure deck. We're trying to close out games relatively quickly, so that's why we have a large reliance on black, as well as we have support colors. So the main support color in the deck is blue, and as you can see here, what I opted for is 4 Jocko, 4 Bean, 3 Coercions. I value the additional 5k boost that Senzu Bean and Jocko can give me, as well as what Senzu Bean allows me to do with my energy. So usually the way you'll set up is that the 4th copy of Jocko is usually charged, and then you'll have the rest for defense, and then you're really trying to focus on using your beans so you can progress your turns offensively, or if you need the extra defense, you have it. And then 3 Coercions, it's just a solid card to have. Allows you to be able to leave 1 energy up on your turn and remain safe from your opponent's defense. From your opponent's offense. So I really like running 3 Coercions. I think going up to the full 4 is not necessary in a deck like that's this aggressive, and of course it just allows you to restand. So if you have multiple Coercions, you can survive the turn. When we look at red, we run 4 Saiyan Kaba. This is one of our 7 ways to awaken ourselves, and just it's a great card because no matter what point in the game you can use this effect and continue to put pressure on your opponent. So I'm a huge fan of Saiyan Kaba in the deck. And then you have 4 Quick Rush Trunks. So Quick Rush Trunks comes into play a lot of the time. So this isn't necessarily something you'll be able to play on your turn 2. And I know that because the way that the deck is set up, the way the energy probably set up, and because we're playing a large majority of black cards. But this is a 2-drop that you can play at almost any point in the game, and it's a threat to the opponent they have to worry about. And that's all you're really trying to do is present threats throughout the game that the opponent is afraid of, and Quick Rush Trunks is one of those, and he doesn't really cost much. And he combos really well with another card in the deck, which I'll get into, that's turning out to be one of my favorite cards in the game. Nick Botchus, you're my savior. I love you. For Further Instruction Champa, we have a crit leader, we have crit attackers, so we're going to run 4 Champa. You're going to be able to use this card a lot in this deck. You're going to get a ton of value off of it, especially because the leader is a 25k crit with this on the front side, and then 30k crit on the back side. And then that's before you get into any other combos. And then of course we run 3 Pride and Justice Topo. This is like the only slot in the deck that is still kind of up for grabs for me, but I really like the utility of Topo. He is the counter attack. So if your opponent is at 15k or more power on their leader, you'll be able to play this for just 2 red. And then the cool part is the auto. So whenever it KOs an opposing a battle card, it restands. So it's almost like an offensive Android 16. So I really like Topo in testing, and I wanted to minimize the amount of actual 10k boosts, like 1 plus 10k boost that I have in the deck. Main reason why is because a lot of times I want to use the majority of my energy on my turns, especially in the high impactful turns, and I want to be able to defend myself. So that's another reason why I'm leading Topo versus another 4-drop, or versus like the combo Goku, that where if you combo with it, you draw a card, because I really wanted that 5k and I value the utility of this card. So now we get into the black cards, because this is where the spicy stuff comes from, aside from our boost, because we know why these are in here. So we'll start with 4 Mira. Mira from the Darkness, it's another crit threat. We can play it for 0 energy, and all it costs is that we overwhelm 4. Very simple. And then you can combo this, of course, with Furthering Destruction Champa. It's a 30k body with double strike crit. So a lot of times there's turns where my first turn, I'll put them from 8 to 7. Second turn, I'll Mass Saiyan, put them from 7 to 5. And then also Mira, put them from 5 to 3. Of course, that requires an optimal draw of hitting multiple Champas, but it's relatively easy to do. It's something that can happen, but it's really strong. And so having Mira in the deck is a huge boon for me. We run 3 Increasing Evil Mass Saiyans. Increasing Evil Mass Saiyan is just another way to awaken, as well as it's just some sort of conditional removal. So as long as we're targeting something that doesn't have barrier, we'll be able to kill it for the turn. And of course, it's another 5k boost, but most importantly, it helps to awaken us. 3 Dark Plot. Dark Plot is just a card that's kind of like a catch-all. It allows you to do multiple things in the deck, especially with the more energy you have. A lot of the time, you can pull back just threats that you really need or threats that you really want, and then most of the time you're going to target an overwhelm character. Mostly it's going to be your Trunks, so you can be able to set up for the big plays that you'll be able to make throughout the game. And then the last black cards to go over is my Trunks packages. So 4 Time Patrol Trunks, you play it, helps cycle through your deck, helps you find those cards you need. It's great. Overwhelm 3. 2 Unrelenting Assault Trunks. The more I play with this card, the more I like it, especially when you combine it with Killer Sword Trunks, because when you send it to your warp from the effect, it just goes back to your hand. So I really like it, and it's just a simple 15k attacker, Overwhelm 3, no issues. And then Killer Sword Trunks. So this card, Nick Botchus turned me onto this card. This card's absolutely incredible in testing. Low investment, costs 4 to Xeno Evolve, and it's really easy to do with the amount of Trunks that you have in the deck. And then it has double strike, and then when you evolve a card into this card, you choose up to 1 battle card in your warp with energy cost 3 or less and play it. So a lot of times the ideal turn, or what the turns I really like, or you'll play one of your Trunks, so one of these two, you'll swing with them, you'll then Xeno Evolve into Killer Sword Trunks, and when you Xeno Evolve, you play this in active mode, and you send the other one to the Warp Zone, and then you have this for double strike. But when you pull this back, since you evolved, you also get to pull back another threat. And since, you know, your 3 drops, you can pull back your Trunks, but all the time, I usually target a Quick Rush Trunks, and so now I've created 1 with a Trunks on board, 2, 3, because of double strike, and then a 4th damage I can threaten on 1 turn. So you can do some pretty insane plays with Killer Sword Trunks. This is probably one of my most favorite cards to play with now. Again, Nick Botchus is our savior. He's the best. But this card's been incredibly powerful in testing so far, so I'm a huge fan of the interactions that you can do with it. So the deck in general is just really, it's aggressive. It's meant to be something that takes a lot of actions per turn, a lot of attacking. You're engaging with your opponent by trying to put a lot of pressure on them, and this is how I found the most success against Mecha Frieza so far, is just Mass Saiyan Leader, because the leader itself is just fantastic. You don't have to worry about too much when you're trying to pressure the opponent, because you get that 5k boost on both sides, and then the icing on the cake is just all the sweet interactions from playing a Mira, from playing a Time Patrol, and then evolving into a Killer Sword, and then bringing back a Quick Rush, and then playing a Kaba on that same turn if you have an open red. You can just generate so much advantage and so much pressure on the opponent that eventually they're going to have to submit to your will, and you're going to end up closing out the game before they can develop their mana base and before they can develop the amount of the board state they want to have. So again, huge fan of this deck. It's been one of my more successful decks in testing so far. I hope you guys get a chance to sleeve it up when the set comes out, take it for a spin on Oxicon, do whatever you want to do. But anyway, that was me. This was a quick deck profile. I appreciate everything you guys do for me. The Dragon Ball Super community is amazing. I appreciate your support. I'm going to be having a giveaway coming up soon with the new set dropping, so be on the lookout for that. I'm really looking to keep pushing the subscriber count up, because I think more people need access to this kind of information. And when new sets come out, this is kind of where I tend to have the best time, because I just brew constantly and I play test constantly, and then you guys just reap all the benefits and you guys get all the data from me that I have, if that's a value it, of course. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick deck profile. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, personal crises, put them down in the comments. Let me know if you need anything. You can message me on Facebook, reach out to me there through Messenger. Anyway, thanks again to Bearded Collectibles for being an amazing sponsor, and thank you guys. Okay, bye!